Hey, I'm all
Okay. Well, uh, I presume you don't have any other questions, or do you, about that?
no, that was a nice little recap. Thank you.
Yep, it was good.
Good.
So, questions, concerns, problems, successes, breakthroughs.
Mild progress.
Good. Anything in particular that you have questions about?
Not at the moment.
No, not at the moment. They'll come up.
Oh yeah,
They do, don't they?
intend to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's do our standing and endeavor to keep our bending and extending continuous, and begin taking a minute of standing first to be aware of your structure, opening your midriff. Make sure the dong is open and the jade pillow, the base of the skull. Breathing down to your dantian and any other elements of longevity breathing that you are able to do without effort. First, sinking your chi, letting that energy that the body cannot use drop down through your feet, through the etheric body and into the earth. And then aware of extending your mind through your body so that you begin to feel the flow in both directions and begin to go into the 8 gates. be aware of bending everything from fingertips to the spine. And extending all of that back out. So any place in that you have any question about what you're doing?
I don't think so.
All right.
No, not a question about what I'm doing. When you were talking about the retreat, you used the word presence, and I'm last week or two, I've been having enough difficulty with that word. Maintaining presence.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know what that's about exactly, but it's not a matter of what I'm doing. It's staying with it consistently.
Well, that's difficult. It's difficult for all of us. I don't, because we, what I started to say was we allow, or there are so many other things going on within our field of awareness that staying present with what we are actually doing at the moment um, is something we keep working on.
Bill, are you having more like physical aches and pains than usual?
Um, not not a whole lot. My my knee has been bothering me perhaps just a little bit uh, lately. I had a knee replacement just about a year ago,
Uh,
partial. So it's doing fine, but for whatever reason, I've been feeling it more the last month or so.
uh, right.
Do I might just say, I had a knee replacement. I had a full knee replacement,
Yeah,
uh, which is not perfect. It's
yeah,
not awful, but it's not perfect. Um, and I both heat and ice it twice a day.
yes. I don't do so much heat, but I certainly ice it a couple of times a day.
Uh,
And I assume that's okay with me. I'm moving around pretty well, so I'm satisfied, and I've like Stephen Watson accepting that there are going to be some conditions going forward that I need to accept.
Well, that's true. Um, I have found the addition of heat very helpful.
Yeah.
Should that become more of an issue for you? Um, so let's flow up through down and under. Uh,
Okay.
uh, what I'd like to do is flow together, and then I'd like to watch each of you separately,
right.
and um, and then maybe we'll get on to wave hands.
Yeah.
Good. Getting tighty. Pum. G. U. Ah. Pum. G. U. Ah. Transitioning into single whip. Reset that left foot. Single whip. Shift. Touch. Step back and pull down. Release the foot. Shift to embrace. Shift on to the left, rotate in and then out, rotating left to shoulder. White goose spreads its wings 1, 2, 3. Follow. Focus. Step around. Rotating. Continuing to rotate into down and under. So either of you have a question first?
Oh,
Okay.
Bill, do you want to go or you want me to go?
Go ahead.
Okay. It looked, you may be sorry you got the new camera. I can see a lot more. It looked to me like you were doing those first two grasping sparrows' tails to the side.
Um,
They're actually to the front corners.
Front corners?
Front corners.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I've always done them to the side.
Yeah, well, I couldn't tell that on the other camera.
So they're to the front corners. And is this one to the back corner or also to
No,
the front?
front corner.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a new twist.
Yeah. um, Single whip looked pretty good. Um, and pull down, make sure that you get, there is an arc downward with the arms in that movement,
Okay.
in the pull down. So don't,
Was I more linear on that one?
yes,
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
yep. Um, and when you go, you need to um, be a little better aware of your weight shift into shoulder and white goose because you're going too far forward on the knee, particularly in white goose. But shoulder should not be all the way to your dynamic limit yet, and you were already at least there or beyond it.
Right. So that obviously by default left me going too far forward into white goose.
Yeah.
Right.
And it looked like I think that caused you to lean forward in the follow and focus, which you
Right.
don't want to do.
Right. Right.
Um,
Okay.
and down and under looked pretty good. You want to try it again?
Sure.
Good. Um, it may be your camera that's making it look like you're leaning forward and on and follow and focus.
I think it is because I definitely wasn't that time. And just looking at me now, it is kind of pointing downwards, and it's skewing the overall view of everything. So I think that
That's
is a little bit of it. Yeah.
that's okay as long as I'm aware of it. Uh, yeah, good. Do you have questions in there?
No, just that I never knew that I was going to the corner instead of the side. So
Yep,
that,
I'm
that's
glad
a
you
whole.
caught that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
Bill?
Okay.
Um, so again, that question about the hands in Peng. Um, the the fingertips are leading up, and that's not happening for you at the moment.
Okay.
Uh, do you understand what I mean by that?
Uh, Give it a try and another explanation.
Okay. Well, um, let me see if I can show it to you.
Okay.
Um, what I'm seeing you do is kind of come up like this and then do this for
Yeah.
G. And we want to try to be a little more um, specific about it. So as the two hands come up, they are rotating and bringing the fingertips up to that completion of Peng, at which point you haven't rotated all the way in the direction of your left foot yet.
Right.
So you have a little more rotation to complete G. Um, so, and actually, I could see the movements of G. You were getting those in actually. It was just the Peng that was. So do you see what I'm saying there?
Yes. Yeah. I guess in my terms, I'm allowing the fingers to lead rather than feeling the energy coming through.
Yep, yep. I, I think you're exactly right.
Yep.
Um, um, single whip is coming. Remember not to let your hands sink too much before you during the reset. They do go down a little bit, but they don't need to go very far.
Okay.
Um, and then pull down was better. Um, embrace and shoulder were better. Um, I felt like you kind of rushed yourself through White Goose. Um, that's a difficult one because you've got those three movements happening in a very short space of time,
Yeah.
and they actually somewhat overlap each other. They don't. Um, it isn't actually uh, 1, 2, 3. It's 1 and 2 are overlapping a little, and 2 and 3 are overlapping a little. So it's really they're flowing into each other. The
Yep.
next one is starting before the previous one has finished, um, and so you have to start by doing them separately, indeed. And I understand that in order to be clear about 1, 2, 3. But eventually they flow right through,
Okay.
really as eventually kind of one movement. Um,
But more slowly than I am doing.
yeah, I'd go a little more slowly. I think would help that. Um,
David, in those one, two, threes, the three part, the last one is just like a little bit of a opening up of both scapulas at the same time.
Yes, it's a little smaller, but just like on
Yeah,
at at other points.
okay.
And that I well, let me finish. Remind me to come back to on. Let me
Okay.
finish with Bill here. Um, um, the only thing I was going to say about down and under. Remember, it's a rising posture, so you're actually going up a little bit as you go into that.
Okay.
Because you sink a little bit as you go.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I have to think earlier.
Yeah, and you sink a little bit when you go into wave hands.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
So, uh, but we'll come to that in a minute.
Okay,
So, do you want to try that again?
okay.
Take your time. Yeah, that was better. Um, in the in the grasping sparrow's tail, one of the things that I realized I didn't say before, and that is the shift in the shift forward to bringing the follow step in is when you do um, roll back. So it completes while you're making that shift forward
Okay.
and bringing the foot up, uh, rather than um,
Well, I was dissatisfied with Sparrow's tail, both sides. So,
yeah, you got rushed into the second side.
yeah,
And the other thing about the second one is if in the transition you let your arms go down a little bit, then it's easier to bring the fingertips up in the second
yeah,
side.
okay.
If you're just coming across at the same level, it's pretty hard to get that
Yeah.
movement to make any sense. So, um, but that was, that was better. So practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions there?
No.
Okay. Um,
It said you wanted to say something else about on.
yeah, I was going to, well, there were two things I wanted to. One was I wanted to say to both of you, really think about every step it being an empty step. And that's important too.
Right.
The thing about on is that I think I've mentioned that it has both um, energy pulling in and energy going out. And it is really kind of the first place where we get this demonstration for us that every movement and every channel can be expressed in both directions. And one of the things about on is that after you've done Liu and you go into on, the hands are continually rotating in this direction. However, the first half of the movement is the thumbs twisting inward, and the second half is the little fingers twisting out. Now we'll get into that more when we get into twisting, but just to make sense maybe for you of that movement, because I had mentioned that it has both in and out, but the hands and arms and scapula are all doing one direction, it looks like. But actually they're doing two, one after the other. So it's a little tricky to get that. So, any other questions in this first section?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. So, wave hands. I don't know. I'll do this again in a moment with the other camera and a little further away. But I want to do it here where hopefully you could see my arms a little better. So we're up here in down and under. And as you begin to rotate and sink, the weight doesn't change at first, but it's kind of interesting. And down and under, you're sort of feeling the inside of the sphere. And as you come down to go into cloud hands, you're bringing the sphere into between your arms, between your hands. And you don't want to go all the way to here or here at the point at which you step. It really will be helpful in terms of the rotation if when you step out with the left foot in your sinking is about here, because then you can keep rotating that sphere, extending out, and then rotate it, bending in, and you're beginning, as you rotate to the other side, extending out, and then bending back in and rotating out. And so you're trying to keep that sense of the ball continuously rotating in your arms, not letting that get lost, but at the same time it's bending in and extending out. Nothing to it.
Are you still mostly focused on your elbows doing the leading in this one?
At this point, you might be yes, or the scapula, but, uh, but at least the elbows.
All right. I mean, is it just in general now with what we're doing with the bending and all, is it wrong to just continually think of beginning it with the scapula in each posture?
Well, yeah, the scapula are always moving.
Yeah,
The elbows are always moving.
right.
Um,
But
they
we've generally been beginning up until we started focusing on this. In my mind, we've been trying to make it such that the scapula begins the movement and the hands and all follow, basically. So
that's
I tried to extend that into this focus that we're doing now as well, but you've also brought in, directing with the elbows instead. So I'm a little bit hazy on that.
well. The point about the elbows is that if you don't have the correct connection between the elbows and the scapula, you can't move the scapula effectively.
Right.
And at the same time, the scapula cannot move the shoulder, elbow, wrist, and hands effectively.
Right.
So it's the two have to work together.
Yeah.
And the reason for the emphasis on the elbows to begin with is because if you, that's where we tend to lose that connection.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because the it's so easy in in whatever you're doing. If I get to here, I just lost the connection to my uh, definitely my right scapula and probably my left, and it's only that much movement that brought the connection back.
Okay.
Okay, so you have to establish the correct position of the elbow to begin with, or you can't eventually bring your attention to focus primarily on the scapula and have it be effective through the whole arm.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, it's based also on just the very basic principle of not closing the robin's nest and keeping proper structure and everything,
Yep,
right?
yep,
That's my understanding of it. And I know what you're saying now in that, I mean, especially at a lesser stage of development like we are, I probably do often, even though I focus on beginning everything from the scapula and moving from there, I probably miss the middleman, the elbow, a lot, and just think directly from there into the fingers without
yeah. So the,
proper elbow structure.
the result is, for instance, since you brought that up, the result is, for instance, when you're doing grasping sparrow's tail, often when you get to here, this movement is this.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You know? Um,
Yeah.
so it's like anything else. We have to practice and clarify and practice each element until it's ingrained to an instinctual level that we don't have to think about it.
Right,
Once you don't have to think about it, then you can focus on the scapula.
right.
But until you're sure that the elbow is not going to um,
Group.
disappear,
Okay,
um, it's not going to do you a lot of good to focus on the scapula because you end
right.
up here and there with um,
I
movements
got you.
movements that aren't energetically connected.
Right. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not probably, it's just too late to do this week, but maybe if we were to go through, you mentioned correct positioning of the elbows, and I've tried to keep them moving, but I'm not sure I understand correct in quote marks, from stage to stage to stage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that would be really good to clarify that again on each posture as well. You know,
Sure. Sure.
the that's definitely a good idea.
I think we probably should put that off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Don't have a
Fine.
lot of time left.
Yep.
Uh, I think what I'd like is just to have you guys try wave hands.
Okay.
So, Bill, I'm going to stop you right away. I didn't see you sink as you began the rotation from high pat down to cloud hands, and your first rotation to the right took the right hand all the way to below the center instead of above, so that you still had that rotation when you go out to the side.
Okay.
So you're moving the arms too quickly. No. So, okay. So just this just is a point that makes this so much easier to keep the rotation going.
Okay.
So what you just did was this. You came down to here, and then you start, well, you're already rotated as far as you can go. And you aren't even a quarter of the way to the side.
Okay.
So if when you come down and step, your step comes when you're here, right hand still up a bit, then you
Yeah.
have all this rotation out to the side. So you can go out and come back in. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because our point is to try to keep the rotation going.
That better?
Better. Yeah, okay. So I think you've got the idea, Bill. So you want to, what you're working on is how do you keep the body moving, the arms moving, and in coordination with each other.
Yep, yep.
So it's not easy when we add the constant rotation in. So that's what you want to work on.
Okay.
Um, so Jeff, your arms look pretty good. I'm not seeing the right movement on the right foot. Remember, that's a turn on the toe, then a turn on the heel. It's a two-part movement, not just rotate on the heel.
Okay, yeah, I do know that. I missed that then, huh?
I'm sorry?
I do know that. I missed that on some of those.
Yeah, at least it didn't look to me like you were doing it, no.
All right, let me do it again. Toe and heel.
Yep, good. Yeah, that's good. Remember that when you're going from the right side back to the left, that you want to end up in that same relative starting position of the arms to rotate left.
Like this.
Yeah, so that you're good, so you can keep the rotation going. Good. So remind me next week to do the um, elbow positions.
Okay.
We can definitely do that.
Okay.
Um, I certainly want to do whatever will help you in this.
Yeah, that's good because I'm glad I asked that too because I've always I try and move from the scapula as I said, and I just in our discussing this more, I'm realizing that as I do that, I'm often just kind of focusing on this, the beginning point and the end point, and not as much main midpoint. So
Yeah,
I do need to do that more.
yeah, we need to. That's well, when we get into twisting, we could talk about this a lot more too. But one of the things that often we see is that people people will get twisting in the fingers and the hand and the forearm, and nothing's going on in terms of twisting in the upper arm or in the shoulder or in the scapula. Even though there may be a linear connection to the scapula, that twisting connection doesn't go beyond the elbow. Um,
Right.
So the same thing happens in bending and extending. Um, if we don't get that connection of the elbow clear, um, and I might just say that the 8 gate standing positions uh, give you a nice, easy way to work on it in 8 different planes of movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a good thing. Um, if you're not feel you're not clear about any of those, to look at them and find, where is that? How do I do that? Because you're not doing a big movement in those, and we're not doing a big movement most of the time in the woo.
Right.
So um,
Okay.
Master Joe has given us quite a job here.
Yeah.
And this is only the short form.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's just fine. It's a
Yeah.
good place to work on it.
The other Woo class that you do, what do they focus on, David?
Long form. The long form.
Is that still Carol and Shell in there?
Yeah, there's only Carol and Shell in that one, but the Wednesday class, I have Adam and Joanne and Bill Bynum and and Bill Nagel.
And what class is that?
But only uh, uh, that's
But
the gods class. Actually, only Adam and Joanne have learned the Woo long form. Bill and Bill are just doing gods.
What is God's?
God's playing in the clouds is the most advanced Qigong in the energy art system.
Oh, okay.
Um, it's a it's a about a 4-year training of the first 4 levels in that, and there are actually 8 total levels.
Wow. Okay.
And it's great. It,
Uh,
it it's or I think it is. I don't know. Maybe Bill might not agree with me.
no, yeah, it is. Yeah.
mm,
Um, it's a it helps to have some of the other Qigong practices. Particularly, you really need energy gates and marriage of heaven and earth. And if you really practice both of those, um, you can get into gods. Um,
right.
Spiraling energy bodies certainly would be a help, but it's not. You can develop spiraling within gods.
mm, Okay.
So, any other last minute thoughts or questions?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you, David. See you next week, Jeff.
Yep.
And I'll see you tomorrow, David.
Sure,
Okay,
pal.
Bill. Good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Have a good week. I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
When's your boy coming home?
8 days, a week from tomorrow.
I was gonna say it's getting close.
Yeah, his birthday, his fifth birthday is July 25th.
Oh,
And Australia time, where they are in Australia, they are 16 hours ahead of us.
yeah.
So they actually leave on the 26th, July 26th, the day after his birthday, and they get back here on the same day, even though it's a 22-hour journey. They still get back here on the same day because they're going back in time 16
Ah,
hours. So
great.
it's obviously it's a very exhausting trip. Involves two plane flights and just a very long time, but they'll be back here later on the 26th, which is a week from tomorrow.
Oh,
So
that's great.
yeah,
I
it's
bet
been
you can't wait.
almost 8 months. I can't wait. David, I've been counting the days for months.
I'm
So,
sure. I'm sure.
yeah, I'm very excited.
Oh,
So,
I'm glad for you, Jeff.
yeah,
Well, good. Well, have a good week, guys.
thanks.
Yep.
We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
Bye.